Amber Gerwick disappeared on Saturday, April 9, 2011. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Amber Gerwick's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. Mother of four, Amber Gerwick, vanishes suddenly from her Jackson, Michigan home.
My heart just went into my throat.
Clues found halfway across the country paint a frightening picture.
I saw the video, and I just literally could not breathe.
Then, old wounds threatened to tear Amber's family apart.
I had been through this once before when my brother disappeared. With him, they found a body.
How could we as a family endure a disappearance again?
What happens next stuns even the most hardened cops.
Every now and then, no matter how many cases you've done, somebody will throw a curveball at you from left field.
It's a crisp spring morning in Jackson, Michigan, a small city in the Midwestern hub of the Rust Belt. Homemaker Diane Spice lives 5 miles north in the sleepy suburb of Blackman Township.
It was a normal, regular day, and the phone rang at early. It was like 10 minutes to 8.
The call is about Diane's niece, Amber.
It was Amber's boss telling me that she had not been to work for 2 days.
32-year-old Amber Gerwick works as an administrative assistant at a local consulting firm.
Amber worked for a company that contracted with Homeland Security. She enjoyed her job. She had just gotten a promotion and was really happy about that.
She was really excited. She was going from working in a cubicle to having an office of her own.
But it isn't just work that keeps Amber busy.
She was taking a medical administration course part-time at school, working full-time.
She was maintaining a 4.0 average while taking care of a family.
Amber has 4 children. She and her ex-husband share custody. Amber was at a good place in her life.
To Diane, her niece's sudden absence from work seems out of character.
For her not to show up for 2 days without calling in was very unusual. So I thought, well, maybe she's sick.
Amber has recently moved to a 1-bedroom apartment a few minutes from her Aunt Diane's home. Diane decides to check in on her. But she's greeted by nothing but a cold silence.
I knocked on the door pretty loudly, as loud as I could. I pounded on it for a few minutes, and I listened in to see if I could hear any sounds, but there was nothing.
Minutes later, Diane breaks the troubling news to Amber's mother, Jackie Seeger.
She asked if we had heard anything from Amber recently, and I said, well, we talked to her Saturday.
Jackie and her husband Dale speak with their daughter regularly.
Amber lives in Michigan, and I live in Georgia, and that's a long ways away. So in order to stay in touch, Amber and I talked to one another on the phone.
On April 9th, 2 days earlier, Amber was her usual talkative self.
She said that kids were with their father that weekend. She was going to study for the day.
But Amber never mentioned plans to miss work. Immediately concerned, Jackie tries her daughter's cell phone.
There was no answer whatsoever, just would go to her voicemail.
We decided at that point there needed to be a missing persons report filed.
Diane files a report with the Blackman Township Department of Public Safety.
Well, the next step was, of course, going to her apartment and searching.
We felt it was important to check and make sure that she wasn't physically injured and laying in the apartment or worse.
Within the hour, patrol officers arrive at Amber's apartment. But Amber is nowhere to be found.
The police had crime scene investigative people there searching the apartment. They had called the detectives at that point.
Leading the investigation is veteran detective Robert Schropp.
As we entered, we made contact with patrol officers that were on scene.
At first glance, nothing appears out of the ordinary.
There was no sign of like a struggle or altercation. The apartment wasn't in any type of disarray. There was food in the fridge. She also didn't appear to have packed any clothes. All indicators that she probably wasn't going somewhere for long.
But then, one item suddenly catches his attention.
Amber's purse was sitting by the door. Missing from the purse was her wallet, keys to the vehicle, and the vehicle was not at the apartment.
The evidence found in the apartment leads police to believe that Amber had left willingly. Until Detective Schrock reaches the bedroom at the end of the hall.
As I walked into the bedroom, I located a cell phone sitting on the bed. And the cell phone was still on.
A laptop and various school books are also strewn across the bed.
So it looked like she just got up and took off.
The objects left behind in the bedroom raise a new level of concern.
It made it more suspicious because most people won't leave their cell phone.
We were completely mystified. We did not know what could have caused her to leave the apartment without her cell phone, because it was attached to her like, you know, it was part of her skin.
Detective Schrock begins to piece together possible scenarios.
It's one of two things. It's either Amber didn't want to be contacted, or somebody got a hold of her.
Did somebody break in? Did somebody get into the apartment? And did somebody take her forcefully?
But who would want to harm Amber Gerwin? Police speak with a number of friends and acquaintances, including Amber's ex-husband, but no one stands out as a suspect. However, down in Georgia, the Seegers are convinced their daughter would never disappear under normal circumstances.
When she walked out of that apartment, we're thinking there's something wrong.
Amber never would have left her children, just up and left her children.
Amber's career in security contracting gives her access to an inventory of sensitive government information. Her family wonders if Amber's disappearance is somehow connected to her job.
She probably would have known a number of things that could have been important to somebody that was maybe a terrorist or something.
Imagination goes wild. You can think of so many different things that could be going on. So many whys and so many what ifs.
The clues found in Amber's apartment in Michigan leave the family with a host of agonizing questions. But none points police towards an answer.
It was important to get going on this because the last time anyone had spoke to her was on the 9th. A couple days had already gone by, so we were already behind on trying to figure out what had happened.
When Detective Schrock returns to the station, he enters Amber into the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC. The system will raise a red flag if Amber or her vehicle appear on police radar for any reason.
At that point, we were kind of in this limbo. Like, what do we do?
We are sitting here in Georgia. She's missing in Michigan. You know, who do we contact? Who do we talk to? Where do we turn for help?
Then, only 3 hours later, the case takes a startling turn.
And then suddenly we get this call that the car turned up in Georgia as an abandoned car in Tunnel Hill.
I remember having to have that repeated to me because I must have heard it wrong. Her car couldn't have been in Tunnel Hill, Georgia.
And here's her car, 600 miles away from Jackson, where she lives. And we're like, now what?
Coming up, police uncover a puzzling new clue.
I saw the video and I just literally could not breathe.
Has gone missing from her home in Jackson, Michigan. But just 3 hours after her family filed a missing persons report, Amber's car turned up in the parking lot of a Dollar General store in Georgia, over 600 miles from Jackson.
And everything changed. The search had suddenly moved from Michigan to Georgia.
What's most perplexing is not the SUV's distance from Amber's home in Jackson, but rather its proximity to her parents' home in Calhoun.
That's about 35 miles north of us. It's way off the highway. It's just kind of an out-of-the-way place.
According to Tunnel Hill Police, the SUV was abandoned in the parking lot at least 2 days earlier.
Did she drive the car down here? Did someone force her to drive the car down? Did someone do something to her and then take her car?
One day after Amber is reported missing, the case is turned over to Detective Eric Burnett of the Whitfield County Sheriff's Department in Georgia. Detective Burnett invites the Seegers down to the station to discuss some new developments in the case.
I met with Miss Gerwick's parents the first time at my office, the sheriff's office. Asked them about their daughter, what kind of a person she was, what kind of friends she has. I told them what we'd found in the car.
He said initially there appeared to be no signs of a struggle inside of the vehicle. There was no signs of violence. There was no blood evidence.
However, what police did find in the front seat of Amber's car raises a slew of new questions.
Miss Gerwick's wallet was located in the car. There was no money there. It was just a debit card and her driver's license.
Police also found Amber's keys locked inside the SUV.
That was very strange to me.
If Amber drove the car, why would she leave her most important possessions behind? But then, if Amber were abducted, why would the kidnapper leave her possessions out in the open?
We ran all kind of scenarios, what might have happened to her. But the more we did that, the more confused we got. Is she running from anybody? Has someone done something to her? Those are questions that we needed to have answers for pretty quick.
There had to be something wrong for her to lock her billfold and her keys in. And the only thought that goes through my mind was she did that deliberately so somebody would know that she had been there, like leaving the breadcrumb trail.
Then, Detective Burnett reveals the most valuable piece of evidence found in the SUV, a small paper receipt. The receipt lists a number of purchases made at the Dollar General store. But since the receipt was locked inside Amber's SUV, whoever was driving the car must have been a customer at the store. And chances are, this person was caught on one of the Dollar General's many surveillance cameras.
Based on the receipt, we knew the time and the date of where to look. We wanted to see exactly who was in that store. We went to the Dollar General store and met with the manager at the store to watch the video.
Detective Burnett cues the footage up to Sunday, April 10th at 8:04 a.m., the time stamped on the receipt. What it reveals will turn the investigation on its head.
This is a surveillance video. It showed a female in there buying several items and leaving the store. She was a white female. She had a University of Kentucky blue sweatshirt on, blue jeans and tennis shoes.
I saw the video and I just literally could not breathe. Looked at the monitor and there's my daughter.
It was her. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind it was her, and it stopped me dead in my tracks.
You see her come in. She walks around. She picks up her items. She stops at the checkout. Guy comes to check her out. She kind of says hello to him. She picks up a chapstick or something right there by the cash register, pays for her stuff.
And she turned to the left and she just disappeared.
Amber's appearance on video ends here. There are no surveillance cameras in the Dollar General parking lot.
That's it. That's all we have. We have no way to know what happened when she left the store.
We watched it over and over. I just wanted to reach out and touch her. I just wanted to say, where are you, Amber?
The footage leaves the Seegers with more questions than answers.
She hasn't contacted us. She hasn't attempted to contact us. And why not? Where is she?
Never did I feel that Amber had got to Georgia willfully. I don't know why, how, but I know it's not of her own accord.
She looked up at the camera. She looks right at the surveillance camera, and we're like, okay, were we supposed to notice that? Was she trying to tell us something?
All theories aside, the Seegers must accept a painful reality. Over 3 days have passed since Amber was last seen alive.
It's like the big abyss of the unknown right before you.
My baby girl has been there, and I feel stronger now than ever before that she's in harm's way, and I can't help her.
Coming up, as the search effort expands, police turn their attention to a murky swamp in Tunnel Hill.
Dad and I both felt that this was going to end badly.
Amber Gerwig has not been heard from for 4 days. Georgia police spotted her on surveillance footage from a convenience store in the small town of Tunnel Hill, Georgia, over 600 miles from her home in Michigan. Oddly, it's just under 30 miles from her parents' house. But Amber has not been seen since, and her parents are beginning to fear the worst.
The problem is that, yeah, you saw her alive there, but you don't know what's happened in the meantime. Okay, she made it to Georgia, but she only made it as far as Tunnel Hill. How come she's not here?
No new leads have surfaced in the last 24 hours, and Amber's father, Dale, is growing restless.
Very much a helpless feeling. I don't know what to do. I haven't slept 2 nights before. Emotionally, I'm just torn up.
Dale decides to play a more active role in the investigation.
I finally had enough. I had to go looking for Amber.
He drives to the site of Amber's last known whereabouts, the Dollar General store.
I had to walk up and down the aisles. I know that I'm not going to find her there, but I know that that's where she was. And I walked up and down these same aisles. I'm in the aisle where they have the lotions and the shampoos and the stuff, and I walk up and down that. And while I'm walking, I'm thinking, Amber, what's happened to you?
There are no new clues to be found inside. But outside, the store's property borders an expanse of densely wooded swampland.
So I walked out and back, and I walked a grid pattern by myself, looking for my daughter in the tall grass. I'm not going to deviate from a straight line for nothing. So I'm walking through the brambles, I'm walking through the berry bushes, I'm walking through everything.
Dale is driven by instinct, but terrified of what he might find.
I climbed down in the drainage culvert, walked that from one end to the other, walked out there through the mud as much as I could to find her.
After trudging through acres of jagged bramble and putrid swamp, Dale can go no further.
I just sat there and looked down. I was all scratched up, my legs were all muddy and everything. I remember buying some bottled water and washing my legs and stuff off. And I remember the dread of going home because I had not been successful.
The Sheriff's Department enlists the help of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, a state-run criminal justice organization.
Well, the GBI, they have more resources than we do. They bring us more manpower for searches.
Heading up the case is Special Agent Danielle Sims.
Time is of a critical element. The first couple of days is very important in the collection of facts and evidence, mainly because those things are perishable. They can go away. As far as investigative work, Amber was at the top of the list.
The first official step for the Bureau is to mount an extensive search throughout Tunnel Hill.
We organized a search with about 30 emergency personnel. The area around the Dollar General store is extremely rural. It's hilly, if not mountainous. We wanted to make sure that she wasn't in the woods. Other officers searched the railroad tracks that traversed that strip mall that the Dollar General is part of. And we also had some individuals search the swampy area behind the Dollar General itself. And we did neighborhood canvas searches, went door to door.
This may be an awful thing to admit, but when they said that they were going to go back there and search, I actually prayed that they would find Amber, because that would mean a body, not my daughter.
You go into it with the hopes and aspirations that you'll find her alive. But at the same time, having traveled down these investigative roads before, you keep your eyes open for anything that's on the ground or motionless, or, of course, the discovery of a human body.
But after an exhaustive search, the team comes up empty. Though Agent Sims is undeterred, the failure to uncover new evidence is a blow to morale.
The longer that anyone is missing, the chances of finding them lessens.
Dad and I both expressed that we felt that this was going to end badly, that there really wasn't a lot of hope. It was very hard to be hopeful because of the history as a family.
Although it's hard to fathom, Amber's disappearance is actually a familiar trauma for the Seeger family.
I had been through this once before when my brother disappeared.
It was winter, it was in January, and he tried to go to this party and he got lost and got stuck in the snow. We didn't know where he was for 2 years. He died of hypothermia. It was horrible for our family.
How could we as a family endure a long-term disappearance again? Would we be able to get through something like that?
Coming up, Amber's father suddenly finds himself at the center of the investigation.
And I remember breaking down. I found it unconscionable that somebody could make that accusation against me.
Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. Missing Michigan resident Amber Gerwig was last seen alive on April 10th, 2011, in a small-town Georgia convenience store. But in the days and weeks following, in spite of a concentrated search effort led by state and local police, no new leads have materialized.
When you know that you have a missing person and their family's grieving, it's hard not to think about that even when you're off duty. And I found myself thinking a lot about Amber and where she might be.
Distraught by the lack of answers, Amber's parents devote every spare moment to searching for their daughter.
Obviously, the detectives and the police and sheriffs and Agent Sims were all doing their part, but we needed to be doing something as well.
Amber's brother, Sean, designs a missing persons poster for his parents to distribute around town.
It had 3 pictures of Amber on. Probably the most important picture, believe it or not, was a large angel tattoo on her shoulder. I was never happy that Amber got tattooed until we had this huge angel that we could put out there and say, here's an identifying mark that you can use to find her.
When she was younger, she was enamored with angels, and we're talking from an early age. We're talking 3 years old.
I had an angel pin, and when I saw the pin, I'd forgotten I had it. I pulled it out and I put it on. It served to help me. You know, I wore it every single day.
The Seegers launch a broad campaign to get the word out.
That poster was distributed, literally thousands of those things were all over the southeast United States.
We had put her listing on Facebook. We would post it and we would ask our friends to repost it, and Amber's friends were posting it and reposting it.
Dale and Jackie are desperate for their efforts to yield some new leads.
That was my full-time job, was finding Amber.
Meanwhile, Agent Sims is working every angle, including some of the darkest places on the criminal landscape.
There is a certain segment of our society that are predators, and they do target people. We did focus on local sex offender databases, and we actually interviewed some people that were on that list.
Then, on April 27th, disaster strikes the South.
Northeast Alabama and northwest Georgia and southeastern Tennessee got hammered with a series of F4 tornadoes. We had to divert ourselves from the investigation to focus on rescue efforts. It was a pretty trying time for everybody in the northwest Georgia region.
Suddenly, at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Amber's case is no longer priority number one.
We knew that he literally did not have time. That was rather devastating for us.
There might be, 2 or 3 hours a day that I could focus on Amber's investigation, and then it was right back to our efforts in helping the communities that were afflicted by the tornadoes.
But despite Agent Sims' vigilance, weeks go by with no new answers. For the Seegers, each passing day erodes their hopes of finding their daughter.
Amber had been missing for 3.5 weeks. We cried, we prayed, we didn't sleep. It was a real tough time. We were running out of ideas.
On May 4th at 1:30 p.m., Special Agent Sims calls the Seegers down to the station. He says he has an important matter to discuss with them.
He met us at the Sheriff's Department here in Gordon County, and he said that he needed to question us separately.
I told her that we had investigated the case thoroughly, that we had absolutely no evidence to suggest that her daughter had become the victim of foul play. We had no evidence that she was alive.
He said, we have no more leads. We don't know where to look anymore.
It wasn't that we were stopping the investigation. It was just at the stage where we knew that it would be easy to perceive that the investigation was grinding to a halt.
That was extremely upsetting.
For Jackie, what Agent Sims told her is almost impossible to accept. But when Agent Sims sits down with Dale, the news only gets worse.
During that meeting with him, he said something to me. Somebody had made the accusation that I knew where Amber was, and I was helping her to stay hidden.
Information had come our way that Dale would do this, and it was a bridge that I felt like I had to cross with.
Dale feels blindsided by the accusation.
I remember breaking down. I found it unconscionable that somebody could make that accusation against me.
One of the most unpleasant parts of my job is when I've got to sit down with somebody who is truly grieving and then challenge them as to whether they have committed a crime. I didn't feel like that the Seegers had engaged in this type of activity, but I just had to cross that bridge.
Agent Sims is convinced of Dale's innocence, but it comes as little relief.
After we got done with that discussion, he told me there was just nothing more we could do. I remember walking out of that interview room and feeling like I was carrying a 10-ton weight.
The Seegers' lives have taken on a hollow sadness they are convinced they will have to live with forever. But they soon would be proven dead wrong. Later that day, Agent Sims gets an unexpected call.
A few hours after I had this meeting with the Seegers, I received a call from the Whitfield County Sheriff's Office. One of the secretaries in the investigative division said, "You need to contact the Joliet, Illinois Police Department. There's a detective there that wants to speak to you." No matter how many cases you've done, no matter how many investigations that you have undertaken, every now and then somebody will throw a curveball at you from left field.
Only 2 hours after returning home, the Seegers' phone rings.
It was Special Agent Sims. I recognized the phone number, and I said, "Yes, Special Agent." He says they've located a woman in Joliet, Illinois, who matches Amber's description, that has amnesia.
Their department had found a young female wandering in a city park and had flagged down the police. She was suffering from memory loss, did not know who she was, and that they had been dealing with a Jane Doe.
Then he says something Amber's father will never forget.
This woman had a tattoo of an angel on her back.
Coming up, a dramatic break in the case is not exactly what it seems.
I'm looking into a face that isn't right. I don't know how to explain it. She just didn't look right.
It's been 3.5 weeks since missing mother Amber Gerwig was last seen in Tunnel Hill, Georgia. Her family had all but given up hope of finding her when they received some astonishing news. An unidentified woman suffering from memory loss was found in Joliet, Illinois, nearly 600 miles north of Tunnel Hill. Joliet police think it's Amber.
They've located a woman that matched her description identically, that had a angel tattoo on her right shoulder.
In Joliet, the story of the woman who lost her memory had caught the attention of the local media, who broadcast a photo of the mysterious woman. The photo was seen by someone familiar with the missing person flyer posted on Facebook.
The Facebook communication was that this is the person you're looking for. She's Amber Gerwig.
Sims sends the Seegers a photo of the woman taken at Silver Cross Hospital in Joliet.
And there was Amber in a hospital bed, staring at us. I just said, "It's her. It's her." And Dale's like, "It's her. She's there. She's alive." We were jumping, we were screaming, we were crying.
My happiness wasn't even close to their happiness. Over the phone, you could hear that weight being lifted, you know, and all of a sudden this flood of hope coming into their heart that, you know, their daughter's alive.
But Dale notices something strange in the photograph.
I'm looking at Amber's picture, and I know it's Amber, but I'm looking into a face that isn't right. She just didn't look right.
Her eyes were empty, and I didn't see Amber's personality shining back at me.
Despite their misgivings about the photo, the Seegers are eager to get to Joliet. They pack their bags and begin the 600-mile drive that night. The next morning, Dale and Jackie head straight to the hospital.
The nurses gave us an update on Amber's condition and what was going on. She was unharmed. She was fine. The only thing that was wrong was her memory.
Amber is suffering from one of the most complex and puzzling conditions in medicine, transient global amnesia.
She didn't remember being married. She didn't remember having children. She just forgotten her life.
Dr. Lucy at Silver Cross put it this way: 99.99% of the doctors in this country will go through their entire career practicing medicine and will never see this type of amnesia, ever.
That afternoon, the Seegers finally get the chance to see their daughter face to face.
We saw Amber. And she was holding a little stuffed dog they had given her in the ER. And what I remember is my daughter taking one look at us. And she grabbed that doll and she hung it real close and she started crying and said, "I don't know you. I don't remember you." And she just cried. I mean, she was just sobbing. And Jackie and I reassured her that was fine. That was no problem.
We had talked in the car and prepared ourselves for the possibility that she might not know us.
But for Amber, the reunion is a frightening realization of just how much she had lost.
They terrified me because I didn't know them. It was devastating not knowing who your parents are. Worse than not knowing who you are. These are the people who raised me. I remembered them the way they were when I was little, but I didn't know who they were at that moment.
Amber can only remember her life up to age 12. Almost all memories from her adult life have vanished.
I'd look in the mirror and the face that was looking back at me was not the face that I would expect. You know, I'd expect to look in the mirror and see that kid that I was, and it was an adult looking back at me.
The Seegers spend the next few days slowly walking Amber through the last 2 decades of her life.
They were explaining to me that I'd been missing and how long I'd been gone and how she had this angel pin. And I loved angels.
I gave her the pin and I told her, Amber, I told her why I'd worn it every day. And now you need to find yourself. So this is your angel pin now to help you find yourself.
At the end of the week, Amber is reintroduced to her 4 children.
She met with each of them for a half an hour, one at a time. It was a difficult thing, but she enjoyed seeing her kids, and they were overjoyed.
Amber is released from the hospital and travels with her parents to Georgia to begin a long and strenuous recovery process. But many questions still remain, particularly, what happened the night she disappeared? Fortunately, Amber can recall her last hours of lucidity.
I remember studying, sitting at my computer, trying to get schoolwork done.
In the early evening, Amber took a break from studying and headed to a nearby convenience store.
I remember going down to the car and getting there and realizing I'd left my phone upstairs. All I had grabbed was my keys and my wallet. I didn't see any reason to go back upstairs to grab my phone when I was only going to be gone for a few minutes. I went to the convenience store down the road. I picked up a couple of small things there, and then that's it. It just stops. It's like there's nothing else after that until I remember the hospital.
Doctors assume Amber spent the next
videotaping myself eating cake. Because I'm just that fabulous. Yes.
If you please know where my daughter is, any information, please.
We definitely had to entertain the possibility that this young girl was abducted and taken quickly out towards I-95.
My heart could take it. It was horrifying.
She was able to provide investigators with 2 photos of Danielle.
In the reflection of the eyeglasses, you can see other people. So it's actually an incredibly valuable piece of evidence.
Now this is starting a lot of more questions than answers.
What police find is a shovel, and there was something on there that looked like blood.
"15-year-old Danielle Locklear is enjoying a yearly tradition. Spending her summer with her grandparents and extended family in the quaint town of Hope Mills, North Carolina.
Danielle and I, we was really close. My name is Darlene Hegel. Danielle Locklear is my granddaughter. And she cared a lot about me, and we did a lot of things together. Go down to the church. The church was always in it because that's, what we did.
My name is Chino Papa, and I am Danielle's aunt. She loved to make videos and tutorials. Anything that involved some creativity, she can do it. She really loved baking cakes, that's for sure. Well, I was like, wow, how'd you learn how to do this? And her cakes were delicious.
I'm videotaping myself eating cake. Because I'm just that fabulous.
Yes. It was just like a little home away from home. She had a good time coming to visit for the summer.
That summer, Danielle meets a young man who is familiar to her family. 17-year-old Jamichael Malloy.
We've seen him over the years at the church. I've seen him when he was a kid, and then one day you see him, he's like a handsome teenager.
Once I seen that they seemed to be getting along well and liking each other, I felt that, oh, this is a good thing.
When the summer comes to an end, it's time for Danielle to return home to her mother, Rona, and stepfather in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But there's a problem.
When it was time for her to go back, she didn't want to go back because she had a love interest. And she was like, please, Grandma, I want to stay.
Adding to Danielle's desire is the fact that her mother and stepfather are going through a painful divorce. So Danielle's mother agrees to let her stay in Hope Mills.
She came to live with us, and we were all open arms. She enrolls in Southview High School in Hope Mills, which is like right behind our neighborhood.
While Jamichael starts his senior year 14 miles away in Fayetteville, Danielle settles into her freshman year.
I met Danielle when she had just came to the school, and we just clicked instantly. Danielle is the most kind person, very outgoing. She could make a friend instantly. You could definitely spot her from a crowd. That was what all guys talked about in school, was how beautiful she was. But she was very much in love with Jamichael. She really thought that that was it for her.
Later that school year, on the morning of Tuesday, March 11th, Danielle's grandmother and Aunt Sheena are preparing to go out of town, leaving Danielle with her grandfather for the night.
It was kind of a busy morning for myself and my mother. We were about to go to Atlanta, Georgia for a doctor's visit, and Danielle usually is out the house by 8 o'clock in the morning, rushing off to school.
But that morning, Danielle is running late.
I remember looking at her, and I said, okay, bye, Danielle. She said, bye, Grandma. And I just seen the side of her face, and then she was gone. I had no idea that was going to be the last time I would see Danielle.
That evening, hours after Danielle returned from school, at around 9:45, she asks her grandfather if she can run a quick errand.
He said he remembers seeing her come up beside his shoulder and say, "Papa, I need to take this binder to my friend up the street. Is it okay?" He said, "Oh, okay, yeah, just come right back." Just simple as that.
But an hour later, Danielle hasn't returned home.
The grandfather said that he's calling the phone, she's not answering, going to voicemail, so he starts driving around Hope Mills looking for Danielle, and he can't find her. The grandfather said that he hesitated calling the police because he always believed that you had to wait 24 hours to report someone missing. Finally, at 3 in the morning, he gave up, went back to sleep, hoped that by the morning she would have come home.
When he wakes up, he begins to panic.
I got a phone call down in Atlanta from my husband, and he said that it's been a while now and she never came back to the house. I'm all nervous at that point, so we started getting our things together real quick to come back home.
Danielle's grandmother instructs her husband to call the police and then rushes to return to Hope Mills.
When we reach Hope Mills, the police are already there.
I'm Detective Joshua Hamilton, and I was assigned to be the lead investigator on the Danielle Locklear case. The grandfather was questioned by responding officers. So Danielle was said to be going to Alexis, who's a friend of hers she goes to school with. She was taking a book to drop off at her house.
But before investigators head to Alexis's house, Aunt Sheena reveals that she knows where Danielle may be. Her hunch stems from an odd encounter she had with her niece 2 days before she went missing.
It was becoming dark, and Danielle is running past the driveway toward the door and caught me off guard because she's never really out at nighttime. And I say, "Well, where are you coming from?" Out of breath she was. She's like, "Oh, I'm coming from the back of the neighborhood. There's like a creek back there, and all the kids have been trying to get me to go hang out." The first thing that comes to my mind is this creek area. Maybe she's hanging out back there or something.
Officers did respond down to the creek with Sheena. They canvassed that area with her. We did not know at the time that's where a large group of teenagers would congregate.
I'm seeing, like, some kids' notebooks back there, just like things where you could tell teenagers had been back there hanging out.
However, there are no active signs of Danielle or anyone else. But as the group are leaving the site, Danielle's Aunt Sheena spots something.
And I look down and I see her night sock. Little fuzzy striped gray and black and white sock. And it's balled up. And I know it's hers because, I bought these socks. And I tell the police, I said, this is something that she wears around the house.
It's weird that this particular sock would be found at the creek, especially if it's something that Danielle would only wear at night. Which brings up the question, had Danielle been to the creek that night she disappeared?
Danielle's inner world revealed.
I remember her texting me in gym class, and she just started bawling instantly.
She's really distressed about this, and she had a lot going on for a 15-year-old.
And classmates point the finger at a former student.
The other kids had told the police she had rejected him and that maybe he had something to do with her disappearance.
She seemed like a goody-goody, and goody-goodies have a bad habit of snitching.
The day after 15-year-old Danielle Locklear goes missing, While searching a creek, her aunt discovers a sock that Danielle only wore at night.
We treated it as an item of evidence and secured it.
The family then makes a painful call to Danielle's mom.
We called my daughter Rona while she was still at Myrtle Beach. Told her that Danielle didn't come home. And she said, "What do you mean she didn't come home? What do you mean, where's she at?" All this kind of stuff. And so everybody was dumbfounded.
You can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't think. Now, there's so many different things that could have happened to her.
By the time we were looking for her, she could be anywhere.
Danielle's mom rushes to Hope Mills, while police visit Alexis, the friend Danielle told her grandfather she was visiting the previous night.
Alexis told investigators that Danielle had not come to her house during the nighttime hours the night before. Her friend was not even aware that Danielle was coming to her house, which kind of shocked us. Now we don't know where she went.
Detectives wonder, why did Danielle lie to her grandfather about where she went that night? Alexis goes on to tell police that she did spend time with Danielle earlier that afternoon, at a place now familiar to investigators.
She had seen Danielle the day before at the creek during school hours.
So quickly found out that she actually skipped part of the day and went to the creek. So now this is starting a lot of more questions than answers.
Alexis was able to provide investigators with 2 photos taken from the creek the day before. Danielle seemed to be enjoying herself. She was smiling. These images were, final images of Danielle that we're aware of.
As I'm looking at pictures of Danielle, she has some glasses on. If you look, there's four people in the background.
In the reflection of the eyeglasses, you can see other people. And it just takes a matter of moments to figure out who those people are. So it's actually an incredibly valuable piece of evidence.
Investigators consider if the afternoon at the creek is somehow connected to Danielle's disappearance.
Establishing what exactly transpired at the creek was super, super important. We had to figure that out pretty quick.
Detectives then set out to identify and interview all of the teens that were present. One of the first they interview is Danielle's friend, Caroline. She tells them that 2 days before her disappearance, a heartbroken Danielle shared some stunning news.
I remember her texting me in gym class, and I went to go see her, and she just started bawling instantly, which is not her characteristic at all. She told me about Jamichael and that he had cut things off with her and that she was really upset. And she started asking me about the creek and where I go when I skip. And I was like, "Do you want to see it?" And then we went down there and we just joked around for a little bit.
That evening, Danielle encountered her Aunt Sheena when she returned home. The next afternoon, the day Danielle went missing, she and Caroline stealthily returned.
The next day, we spent the day there. I remember it being sunny and warm. There's probably at least 6 kids down there. We had laid out beach towels and blankets. She was just laughing the whole time. I didn't think she was sad anymore at all. That was the last time I saw Danny, my final day with her. I just feel like that was a good day to have with her. If I had to pick a last day with somebody, that was a good one.
Danielle was able to burn up about an hour and a half, 2 hours of her day down there at the creek with her friends before she kind of snuck back onto the school property and walked back in undetected.
After school, Danielle went home before heading out later that evening. Detectives wonder, If Danielle didn't visit Alexis that night, did she meet up with Jamichael?
Once we established that she did have a boyfriend, we wanted to talk to him as well.
Jamichael tells the police that Danielle was having such a hard time with the breakup that she kept bugging Jamichael, and he said he had to block her from his phone, so he hadn't talked to her in days.
Detectives then ask where he was on the night Danielle went missing.
Jamichael tells investigators that he was at home with his friend, Dominic. Those two were tight. I mean, they were like brothers. But he hadn't left the house and he was there all night. Investigators asked for consent to do a forensic analysis of his phone and the contents within it. He surrendered that phone to us with no problems. That extra step to reassure us that he didn't know where she was.
As they sift through the messages on Jamichael's phone, they make a shocking discovery.
Several days before she went missing, she was saying to him that she had taken a test and was in fact pregnant with this baby.
Messages concerning her pregnancy raised a lot of alarms. We had to assume that she is pregnant and we're looking for a pregnant teenager.
It was obvious that there was a lot of anger, and Jamichael didn't believe that Danielle was pregnant. So this seems to be something that they were fighting about.
Did Jamichael's anger spill over the night Danielle disappeared? When they locate the texts from that evening, however, they discover something else.
Police learned from Jamichael's phone that he was home that night, texting with other girls. Looks like he was home all night, as he said he was.
To Danielle's family, the turmoil in her personal life comes as a surprise.
So I didn't really hear anything about any of the pregnancy scare stuff. When I found out that she was thinking about being sexually active, I immediately took her to the doctors to get her put on birth control. But she didn't really seem like there was that much that was bothering her.
In hopes of unearthing new clues, detectives file a subpoena for Danielle's cell data. Then, they retrace her steps from the day she went missing, starting with her walk from school to the creek.
Investigators discovered the camera aiming at the sidewalk, which leads to the trail to the creek.
This surveillance video of Danielle is proof of what Danielle was doing that day before she disappeared.
In March, a few days before Danielle disappeared, she and her aunt threw a birthday party for her uncle.
My husband was turning 65, and I got together with Danielle and asked if she would bake the cake. And she said yes. She was really excited about that. So the day arose. Everyone was enjoying themselves. My husband loved the cake. The cake was delicious. And really, it just breaks my heart because that was the last time that I seen her.
Two days after she is reported missing, investigators review security footage of Danielle on the day she vanished.
It was certainly of interest to investigators at that point because it was earlier in the day that she went missing later that evening. Danielle was seen walking toward the creek. It captured her stopping, putting her head down, kind of putting her head in her hands as if she may have been upset or thinking about something. And then she moves out of view.
Police are also learning that she is absolutely heartbroken about her breakup with Jamichael Malloy. It's possible that Danielle may have thought that she was pregnant. She had a lot going on for a 15-year-old.
I don't think we'll ever know exactly what was going through her mind, but, you know, it's obvious something's there.
Then investigators get another critical clue when the location data from her cell phone comes through.
When we started to receive those records to see what her movements were the night she went missing, it showed her in that area of her residence, and then it showed her heading towards I-95. It started going north, roughly about 8 miles before it cut off.
Danielle's phone last pinged a cell tower at 10:40 p.m. Investigators combed that area for Danielle's cell phone, to no avail. But the location data presents them with a new theory of her disappearance.
It told a story of leaving Hope Mills in a very, very fast manner, faster than one could walk. She had to have been in a vehicle. At that point, we definitely had to entertain the possibility that this young girl was abducted walking down the road and taken quickly out, you know, towards I-95.
We've gotten the federal authorities and FBI involved. We were able, from social media, from pictures of the family, to get descriptions as well as photographs of Danielle out there and really try to push them out.
Just a few days after she's reported missing, Danielle's disappearance makes national news.
Basically, every news channel, everywhere you could possibly put news that was Danny's face.
I want my baby to come home. That's my baby girls. No one knows what a mother goes through when I feel like my heart is been ripped out. If you please know where my daughter is, any information, please. Tell her to come home. Or Danielle, if you see this, come home, baby. I love you.
Danielle's ex-boyfriend also joins the efforts to find her.
Jermichael was right there in the huddle with us, looking for, making the plan, where we're gonna go, what we're gonna search, who we're gonna talk to next. We did everything within our power, making phone calls, calling friends, making flyers, sending faxes. Our attitude was that, you know, do whatever's necessary to find her. And we're praying and hoping that you find her alive.
While the search for Danielle continues across the United States, detectives continue to interview classmates who were at the creek the day Danielle disappeared. And one of them points to a former student with a questionable past.
Investigators learned about Derek through another individual. He told us about Derek, how, you know, he potentially had something to do with her disappearance.
The other kids had told the police that Derek maybe was interested in Danielle and that maybe she had rejected him and that maybe he had something to do with her disappearance.
Detective suspicions are raised when they learn that Derek lives near the area where Danielle's cell phone last pinged.
We took him to the sheriff's office voluntarily. We felt that several things he told us, they didn't sit easy with us.
Investigators are questioning a former student who lives in the area where Danielle Locklear's phone last pinged.
The best way to describe Derek is he's kind of like the school truant. Has been expelled a few times, but he still hangs out with the kids from the high school. And Derek was at the creek on the day that Danielle was there.
Let me ask you something. Was Danny hot?
Oh, yeah, she was a very beautiful girl.
Was you infatuated with her? She kind of had like a secret crush?
No, she seemed a little too pretty. She seemed like a goody-goody. And honestly, I don't hang out with goody-goodies. Goody-goodies have a bad habit of snitching. I ain't gonna lie. I do illegal things, and I know I do.
Derek was unique in the fact that he was very outspoken. He admits to not liking her, that she's too preppy. That's not his cup of tea. He made it clear that, you know, he does illegal things. We don't hear that very often.
Let's put Derek's posturing aside. Let's look at the facts. Where was Derek on the night that Danielle disappeared?
When questioned on his whereabouts during the hours of 8:30 p.m. to 12:30 the next morning, Derek says he was at his father's house.
Around 8:30, my dad left to go to a pool tournament. I stayed on the computer, job searching. Between Facebook, job searching, and TV, that's what I was doing all night.
He was alone for those hours, which is also very suspicious. There's no one else in the home with him.
Derek is certainly someone that has raised investigator suspicion at this point.
Detectives then turn to the location of the final cell ping from Danielle's phone.
But we know where Danielle's phone was. Okay, what area her phone was. It's out there around your house. In that general area. Okay, I'm not saying it's right at your house, but in the general area. And that was Tuesday night, 22:45, which would be 10:45. I'm asking you, was she alive when she left that area out there around your house?
I have no idea, I didn't see her.
You're telling me you have no knowledge whatsoever of what happened to Danielle Locklear?
No, sir.
But police aren't convinced Derek is telling the truth.
Police decide they're going to take this a little bit deeper. Police get a search warrant and they search Derek's house.
We do a search of that property based on the information provided.
While examining the property, investigators immediately observe something alarming.
What police find is a shovel. And there was something on there that looked like blood.
The shovel appeared to have what we thought was blood on it. So, you know, we ran some tests on it.
But when the police took the shovel in for forensic examination, they determined that it was not blood on the shovel.
So at this point, there was nothing tying Derek directly to Danielle's disappearance.
People tried to say that Derek had done something to her or hurt her in some way. A lot of very mean things that he did not deserve.
We reached a point, you know, where we couldn't rule him out, but we couldn't corroborate what he's saying to us. We didn't have enough to keep moving forward with him. So we regrouped and started to pick up where the evidence left off again.
Then, on April 2nd, 22 days after Danielle disappeared, an off-duty police officer discovers something concerning off a bridge about 20 miles outside of Hope Mills. He immediately calls 911.
Is there a deputy close by with a pair of binoculars so I can make sure there's not a body in the water?
On April 2nd, 3 weeks after Danielle disappeared, an off-duty cop calls 911 for assistance.
Is there a deputy close by with a pair of binoculars so I can make sure there's not a body in the water?
Okay, I just got up, but as soon as he cleared his call, he can be en route to you.
Once he got the binoculars, he was able to see that it was, in fact, a body in the river.
Detectives race to the scene.
When the body was pulled from the water, I recognized personally the shirt that was on the body as being the shirt that Danielle was pictured wearing at the creek. It was heartbreaking. We knew at some point we were going to have to tell her family that the worst outcome possible was now a reality.
When Danielle's body was recovered from the water, there was a center block tied around her waist that was tied with yellow rope There was also another cinder block tied around her feet, again with yellow rope.
The cinder blocks were of coarse gravel. They were definitely an older cinder block. They weren't like the crushed fine concrete you see typically in today's cinder blocks.
Once police receive a positive identification from the medical examiner, they notify Danielle's family.
It was very hard. It was hard. It was a hard day. At that point, my heart couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. It was horrifying.
I just kept thinking, this can't be real. Like, this is like the worst thing that could possibly have happened. I just felt like I could never really believe it in my mind that she was gone.
As Danielle's family and friends begin to mourn, detectives get to work. The medical examiner concludes that Danielle had been strangled. And they find something else.
It also noted that there was a sock that had been stuffed into her mouth.
It's a match to the night sock Aunt Sheena found on the creek trail weeks earlier.
The sock was listed as part of the death. The medical examiner could not rule out the actual mechanism for her death. Was it strangulation or was it the sock? Only thing they could say was it was from both.
The other important fact that the medical examiner is able to provide is that Danielle Locklear was not pregnant. It's possible that Danielle may have thought that she was pregnant at a certain time, but she was not pregnant when she was killed.
Detectives theorize that Danielle was murdered at the creek, and her body was disposed in the river about 20 miles away. To investigators, the location of the disposal site seems significant.
The South River, where Danielle was found, is a little under a mile from Jamichael Malloy's residence.
Despite his alibi, Jamichael is now the focus of the investigation.
It only added to my suspicion, based on everything to that point, that he had everything to do with this, and we were going to chase down every bit of evidence we could to make sure that we could hold him responsible.
Detectives prepare a search warrant for his house and bring him into the station for questioning.
Jamichael willingly comes in. His mother goes with him because she's now really worried.
It don't look good. That body, really, how did it get down there? Somebody could be trying to frame you.
They have to prove that. I love you too much. Okay.
Investigators press Jamichael on his involvement in Danielle's murder.
You think I'm a smart kid? Yeah, I do think you're a smart kid. Why in the world would I put her down the street and around the corner? Because more often than not, that's what people do. You know, based on my experience, they tend to not want to leave their comfort zone. Y'all seen y'all ping my phone and seen I was at home, so.
Investigators then inform the Malloys that officers are searching their home.
We have cooperated to the full. But now that you're searching my house, we're going to use solitary.
Yes, ma'am. You ready to go home?
Yes, sir. Right now.
I'm going to go.
While Jamichael is being interrogated at the police station, other officers are searching his property. And they find something unbelievable. Cinder blocks that match exactly to the cinder blocks that were tied around Danielle's body. At his home, in the soil, they find the indentation, the marks left from the cinder blocks that had been there and had been removed. Then they find rope, very similar to the kind that had been tied around Danielle's body. Obviously, cops are trying to get a confession out of Jamichael. They're putting the evidence on the table and saying, Jamichael, it had to have been you. The cops think this is the aha moment. But Jamichael doesn't crack. He doesn't confess. He is so calm.
Jamichael's best friend, Dominic Locke, is also brought in for questioning. But he refuses to speak with detectives.
Everything points to Jamichael, but we don't have the probable cause to go ahead and charge him. We wrapped it up, let him go on his way, and told him we're gonna see you again. This ain't over.
4 days after denying he had anything to do with Danielle's murder, Jamichael Malloy tells police he's ready to talk again. Jamichael explains that on the night of the murder, he and his friend Dominic drove to Danielle's home.
I was like, all right, I'm ready to get this pregnancy thing done. So I had took my wallet and I threw it against her window.
To get out of the house, Danielle told her grandfather that she needed to drop off a notebook at her friend's house.
She came out and everything. She got in the car and we went to the creek. We sat down and talked for a while. And she was cursing me out, still being mean to me. And I'm just trying to shove it off. And she was supposed to take a pregnancy test in front of me. I told her, no matter what, pregnant or not, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. If this is my kid, DNA proven and everything. But I'm not gonna be with you. And that's when she snapped on me. She punched me in my face. She slapped me and jumped on top of me and got all over me and stuff.
According to Jamichael, in the middle of their alleged fight, he snapped.
All I remember was I grabbed her, I was choking her. I blacked out. Next thing I knew, she wasn't breathing. And I freaked out.
Jamichael says he goes up to where Dominic is, waiting by the car, and explains that he's just killed Danielle, and says, Dominic, you've got to help me. Dominic and Jamichael walk back down to the creek where Danielle's body is, and they start to pick her up and carry her back.
The sock that Sheena found likely fell off along the way. According to Jamichael, Dominic shoved the remaining sock into her mouth.
Why would you do that? She was making a noise. Yeah, but if I could nurse and nobody would hear it. Yeah, me and Dominic got in the car. Yeah, drove back to my house. I went and got the rope and just in the block. And tied her up, put her in the car, threw her over the side into the river.
With his confession on record, Jamichael Malloy and Dominic Locke are arrested and charged with second-degree murder.
It was terrible. I mean, to get that information, and we had been searching about a month, having Jamichael with us during those searches, saying, have you heard anything? Oh, I pray that she's okay, and we'll find her. All of these things, all the time knowing exactly where she was.
Jamichael betrayed us as a family. He knew that she was precious to us and that we would never stop looking for her. To go and pick her lifeless body up and toss her in the river like she was nothing. Not one time did you say, oh my God, I made a terrible mistake. I've got to call for help.
In a tragic twist, investigators suspect that Danielle lied to Jamichael about being pregnant in order to gain his attention. But one question remains: the texts from Jamichael's phone that placed him at home the night of Danielle's murder.
A specialist in phone analysis was able to uncover that Jamichael had used a texting app where you could schedule your phone to send out text at a future time. And so he had left his phone at his house, but yet his phone was still sending text two friends as if he was still at his house.
In May of 2016, Jamichael Malloy pleads guilty to second-degree murder. At his sentencing, he turns to speak to Danielle's heartbroken family.
There's nothing I can do there or I can say that's going to bring her back. But I do want to apologize for the actions that I made.
He is sentenced to 25 to 31 years in prison. Dominic Locke pleads guilty to accessory after the fact and is sentenced to 6 to 8 years behind bars.
You never get over something like this. You learn to live with it. My sister is never going to be the same. Danielle was more than a niece to me, and I'm just thankful for those years I shared with her.
Years later, friends and family still cherish their final moments with Danielle.
Danny was just a great person to be around, and I don't think I can ever forget the person she was. You'd think after years and years, and it being high school, it would fade a little bit. I always thought it would. I would get older and I would get over it. But Danny was too much of a good person and a bright person and such a positive energy in life that you can't forget that.
When she left the house that day, she said, okay.
A hard-working New Mexico family.
My dad was up at 4 in the morning, wouldn't go down till 10 o'clock at night.
She was always the type of person to just help everybody.
Is murdered on Father's Day.
My parents are dead.
They were covered in so much blood.
That was the worst I've ever seen.
Police uncover a loving family.
He was a shaken baby. We were told he may never walk again.
With a startling criminal connection.
She has a history of burglaries.
And a jaw-dropping revelation.
I absolutely was shocked. I didn't think I have ever known anybody in my life who could do something that brutal.
To this day, I still can't understand how the person could do something this tragic, this gruesome.
They said, I know who did it, I know who did it.
El Rancho, a tiny New Mexico town home to just a few hundred families, a place filled with honest, hardworking people.
It's a very tight-knit community. It's kind of one of those places where everybody knows everybody.
On Father's Day 2011, police receive a 911 call that shatters the early evening calm.
Santa Fe 911, where's your emergency?
Dancing boy! Carl!
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
I don't know, just my dad put me out to the phone. He said I did. Did you come out and I walked over to check on him and I think it was in the yard.
Okay. I can't hear you when you're yelling. Try not to yell into the phone, I can't understand you.
My parents are dead.
The caller is a 35-year-old woman named Cherie Ortiz Rios. Officers arrive at the property she shares with her parents, Lloyd and Dixie Ortiz. Police enter the home occupied by Cherie's parents and her brother to investigate, starting with the master bedroom.
Dad observed a female laying face down in her nightgown attire, deceased.
The brutality that was involved was unspeakable.
She had some trauma on the right side of her temple region.
Police believe this is Cherie's 53-year-old mother, Dixie Ortiz.
As you walk out through the main door to the bedroom, there's a couple of steps up into a kitchen. That's where a deceased male was laying face down. That was probably the worst I've ever seen. There was several defects in his head and shoulder area.
Cherie tells police that this is the body of her 21-year-old brother, Stephen.
As you walk back out the room to the rear of the residence, there was another deceased male laying face down. And he had several injuries to his upper torso and his head region.
The dead man is Cherie's 58-year-old father, Lloyd. Detectives called in the medical examiner to take charge of the bodies. For now, they can only speculate about the cause and time of death.
There were limitations on how well we could examine the injuries because they were covered in so much blood.
It looked like something that had penetrated all of their bodies. So at that point, led us to believe that they were actually shot with some type of a firearm.
While the medical examiner carefully removes the bodies, a forensics team meticulously looks for evidence.
We did not find any shell casings. There wasn't a gun located. There was nothing that indicated that we had our murder weapon at the scene. We have no physical evidence as far as some type of a fingerprint. There weren't any footwear impressions in any of the blood. Maybe we can get some DNA, but we don't know that initially. That has to be sent to the lab for testing. With this type of crime scene, generally there's only a couple different types of motive. It's love, money, or anger. So we have to look into those. Lloyd's wallet was on the counter right next to where Stephen was lying in the kitchen. It had money in it. It didn't look like somebody was in there to steal from them.
There's no evidence to suggest this is a robbery, so police consider whether other motives could have been at play.
Who would stand to gain something from killing 3 people on Father's Day in their house?
Police need to learn more about the victims and their family. They turn to Cherie, who lives just steps away.
On the 2/3 of the property, Lloyd, Dixie, and their son, Stephen, lived, and the other third was occupied by Lloyd and Dixie's daughter, Cherie, her husband, Jesse, and their 2 children, Catalina and Robert.
When her sister arrives, a despondent Cherie can barely keep it together.
I remember my sister running up to me and telling me, that my mom and my dad and my brother were dead.
There were nothing I could do or say to make it better for her. 'Cause I love my sister so much, so much.
Cherie and Angela choke back tears as they tell police all about the most important people in their lives.
My mom and dad were the best parents that I could ever ask for. They were always there, always accepted us for who we were, always stood by our side, no matter what.
Lloyd was a tile contractor who was popular in the town.
My dad was amazing. Up at 4 in the morning, wouldn't go down till probably 10 o'clock at night every day.
Lloyd had been married to Dixie for 34 years. She worked in a nursing home.
She didn't even think of that as being a job. It was just who she was.
Dixie's selfless, caring manner didn't stop with her work. In 1989, when their daughters were just teens, she and Lloyd took in a baby in need.
Stephen was 7 months old when he came into our home as a foster child. He was a shaken baby. His left side of the body was paralyzed. He had cerebral palsy. We were told that he may never walk, talk.
I would grab him out of the crib and stick him right next to me in bed, and he would sleep right next to me. I just loved him so much.
As he grew, the family's love helped transform Stephen into a strong and happy little boy.
Walking, potty training, the developmental milestones, they took a lot longer for him to reach, but he reached every single one of them.
Stephen was part of our church, and he was such an absolute joy. He would greet everybody. Everybody in church loved him. He made it a point to talk to everybody. He was quite a young man.
Stephen, Lloyd, and Dixie's lives have been cut tragically short. But why would someone murder such a loving family? Police find one possible reason: growing outside.
There were several marijuana plants that were being grown. There was a fenced-off area where there was 17 plants growing.
These plants were not visible unless you were directly over them. It was a very tight oxygen area that was padlocked.
A marijuana crop under lock and key outside the family home piqued detectives' interest. Had they just uncovered an illegal drug operation?
My parents had a medical marijuana card for my brother and a grower's license. So they were legally growing medical marijuana for my brother.
My brother had 2 brain surgeries to relieve some of the pressure in his brain. And so they prescribed medical marijuana to him to help relieve the headaches he was having. They were pretty debilitating at times.
The family had known that Lloyd was growing the marijuana for Stephen, and the family would smoke some of the marijuana.
While the marijuana was being grown legally, detectives suspect that it could have attracted the attention of the wrong people.
Was this some type of a drug-related incident?
Police become even more concerned when Cherie and her husband Jesse relay a story about a few suspicious characters they heard outside their home on the night of the murder.
They indicated that they were watching a movie that ended between 1:30 and 2 o'clock in the morning. Their dog started barking, and Jesse got up and walked to the front window. He saw a car that was parked outside.
He heard a kid yelling out there. He heard somebody say, "Hurry up, come on." And he was like, "There's somebody out there." And so he went back in and even grabbed a gun. And he got in his truck and he drove his truck toward that car.
Coming up, the autopsy reveals an unexpected cause of death.
It's not generally your weapon of choice. It's extremely violent, it's brutal.
And the town is stunned when the killer is revealed.
People were in disbelief. As a pastor, it was hard for me to even fathom.
Hours after Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz are found dead, police are hunting for the driver of a car seen outside the home the night before the murders.
We interviewed Lloyd and Dixie's daughter, Cherie, and she said that her husband, Jesse, saw a car that was parked outside and to the left of the property. He had indicated that the vehicle was a gray car.
The dog started barking crazy. My husband, Jesse, he came out and even got in his truck.
Cherie tells police Jesse followed the vehicle in his truck. But when detectives interview Jesse, he tells them a completely different story.
In Jesse's interview, he had failed to mention that he actually left the house that evening.
You never left the house?
No.
Why would your wife say you left the house?
That I left the house.
Why would she say that?
Maybe because I was outside or something.
She said she heard you leave the house. Why would she say that?
I don't know.
It was pretty concerning that he would forget one of the biggest details of that evening with his involvement.
As detectives continue to press Jesse, he suddenly remembers details from the night before.
Jesse.
You know what? I might have left the house. When I seen the car parked. You know what? That is correct. That is correct.
You see the issue?
Yeah, I do. I forgot about that.
It's something you don't just forget about, Jesse.
Well, I'm serious, man.
Man to man. You know where I'm going.
Right.
It's time to start talking.
I do remember, because I remember going back down there to get my keys. And I did get in my truck. And I drove towards the dead end that way.
What happened then?
I passed by.
Why would you not confront somebody right there?
Because I didn't expect anything.
Jesse, lying to me, dude.
I'm not lying to you, bro. I'm telling you the truth.
Jesse's changing story now has police eyeing him as a suspect. And when they ask him about his relationship with his in-laws, they think they may have hit upon a motive.
We found out something very alarming. There was some stuff in the close past that had caused some family tension between Lloyd and Jesse. And we knew at one point Lloyd was embarrassed of the way that Cherie and Jesse's property looked, so he actually built a fence in between the two properties so he didn't have to look at it anymore. So we knew there was some tension there.
Police can't rule out that tension in the family could have boiled over. Could Jesse have slipped out of the house and committed 3 heinous murders over a minor family squabble? To get to the truth, police grilled the couple about where they were the night of the murder.
They told us the timeline of where they were. They went to a casino. They were there for X amount of time, drove to their residence. They put in a movie right away. They were able to identify almost minute for minute of what they did that entire day, which is kind of unusual.
And when police ask Cherie about finding the bodies, she tearfully gives them a detailed account of the horror that unfolded.
I walked in and I was like, Mom. And then I walked over to her to shake her, and her head was blown. And so I ran to the kitchen to check for my brother and my dad, and I thought it was my dad laying on the floor in his underwear because his face was so blown off. And so I ran home screaming for my husband. And my husband went back and he said, honey, that's Stephen in the kitchen. Your dad's dead in the backyard.
Cherie's story is plausible, but one thing she can't explain is something she told police when she called 911.
They're dead. They have gunshot wounds to the head. They're dead. They've been dead since the morning.
Cherie said that she knew if she would have went over there, she could have saved him that morning, which told me that she had intimate knowledge of when the homicides actually occurred, which pretty concerning. How would she know that? We didn't know that timeline of when they were actually killed.
Detectives are no longer suspicious of just Jesse. Is it possible that the Ortiz's own daughter could be involved as well?
We did obtain DNA samples from Sherry and Jesse to try and analyze to see if there was anything that could be matched.
Police searched Cherie and Jesse's home, hoping to find a physical link to the murder. With so much activity in the tiny town of El Rancho, news of the crime spreads.
My wife and I raced down to the property. When we had got there, there was quite a few people there. Cherie was just outside herself. She was just hysterical.
Detectives can't help but wonder if Cherie's tears are genuine, yet they're unable to find any physical evidence to link Cherie or Jesse to the murders. When the autopsy report comes back the next day, they hope the results will help them shed some light on the mystery.
I actually did attend the autopsy, and during the course of the autopsy, the pathologist informed us that the wounds sustained were the result of impact trauma. They were killed with a pickaxe. Stephen Ortiz, the son of Lloyd and Dixie, received 17 blows to the head from the pickaxe. Evidently, the victims were beaten long after they were already deceased.
The amount of force that was used to cause this was extreme. My initial reaction was, who had this much anger to want to kill him in such a gruesome manner?
After receiving the autopsy report on a horrific triple homicide in El Rancho, New Mexico, detectives have just discovered that the Ortiz family was killed with a pickaxe. Now that police know what to look for, they quickly set out to find the murder weapon.
One of the agents remembers seeing a Maddox-style pickaxe lying in an adjacent field to the west of the residence. So we immediately went to the scene and found our pickaxe covered in blood. Processed it to the crime scene lab in Santa Fe and waited for results.
There was a lot of hope that there was going to be potential evidence that would link the assailant to the pickaxe.
There was nothing. There was nothing there. We got DNA that was identified on the pickaxe from the 3 victims. Nobody else.
Still, the murder weapon does tell police something about the killer.
It would take a great deal of force to cause that type of injury.
Police had to consider whether either of their suspects were strong enough to commit the crime. Jesse was capable. Was Cherie? While police search for answers, the small town of El Rancho is gripped with fear.
The whole community was on high alert. This kind of crime is very unusual for that area.
All we knew was that there were 3 dead people that the community loved, and nobody knew why and how.
Police continue to look into the alibis of the main suspects, Cherie Ortiz and her husband Jesse Rios, who said they'd been to a casino that night. Investigators see if their story can be verified.
They were seen on surveillance video at a gas station, and then they went to a casino.
This supports the couple's claims. Investigators also track what they did the rest of the evening.
We were able to pinpoint the length of time that it would take to drive from the casino to their house.
The timeline puts them in their home, right next door to the murders, at the time of the crime. But it's not nearly enough evidence to pursue a case. Police hope to utilize the publicity surrounding the murders and make an appeal for tips.
Everybody wanted to say who they thought it was, but didn't have any merit behind any of the stuff they were coming forward with.
Detectives also combed through their witness interviews and hit on a name they hadn't considered before.
Initially, Angela had mentioned that Nicholas Ortiz was a 16-year-old, just a regular kid in the community. Cherie had a son that was Nicholas's age, and they went to school together.
Nick Ortiz had a positive relationship with the family. There's no relation, by the way, between Nick Ortiz and the three Ortizes who were victim. It's just same last name.
Nicholas's family lived right up the road from us, and that's how him and my son had become friends.
He was having some troubles at home. Eventually, my sister opened up her home to him, gave him his own room.
He would go over next door to Lloyd and Dixie's house. They would give him money. They took him to the flea market. They took him everywhere. So they basically just treated him like he was one of the family.
But the transition to family member wasn't all smooth.
My husband and I had caught Nicholas going through our drawers. We had just started noticing a little bit of money missing. Things moved. So we started giving him an allowance every week for the chores he was doing as well.
Nick's troubles extended to school, too.
Nick had come home from school, and you could tell he had been punched in the face and was kind of beat up. I freaked out. Oh my God, who did this to you? He said, I joined a gang with some friends of mine, and I had to let them beat me up. And I was like, okay, so now today we're gonna have the anti-gang talk. And I mean, we did.
The family tells police that joining a gang was just one example of the problems Nick brought to their home.
One night, my father had asked my son to cut down a plum tree that was dead in his backyard. And when they went out there, Nick was hiding behind some raised flower beds they had in their backyard. And the backyard was a secured area for the two little dogs they had, so both gates were locked from the inside. So he had to have jumped the fence to get back there.
Nick basically jumped up and kind of went towards him, in a joking manner, like to scare him. And Lloyd wasn't impressed by it. He didn't think it was funny.
After stealing from the family and joining a gang, this was the final straw for Lloyd.
He basically told Nick that he was not welcome at that property ever again.
It made us feel on guard and very uncomfortable, and we think it's best that it's time for him to move back home. I then texted Nicholas and told him that he could come and pick up all the clothing and furniture that we had purchased for him over that time period, and he could take it home with him. I never really saw him again after that.
Could the Ortiz's rejection of Nicholas lead him to kill? Had he murdered Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen in cold-blooded revenge? The police bring in Nick for questioning.
Do you know anything about this case that could help us?
Police in El Rancho, New Mexico have a new suspect in the murders of Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz. An unrelated 16-year-old named Nicholas Ortiz.
Do you know anything about this case that could help us?
I don't. The only thing that I've heard was what people have told me from the news.
He came off as this calm kid that didn't do anything wrong. He was just kind of like your baseline kid.
Detectives confront Nicholas about his speedy exit from the Ortiz home.
Lloyd just told you. What exactly did he say? You remember?
Yeah, telling me that I effed up my trust with them, not to go near them anymore or anything. I said, okay, fine. So what you guys want to do? And that was really the last time we spoke.
Okay. How did you feel then?
The detectives ask where he was the night of the murder.
He said he was at home with his dad and sisters leading up to Father's Day. Between 12 and 1 o'clock, he woke his father up and wished him a happy Father's Day and went back to bed. And he was there when his mom got off of work, which was around 7:30 in the morning. Everything was corroborated as far as his alibi.
Not only does Nicholas have a solid alibi, his demeanor in the interview doesn't suggest he is the killer.
Do you think if you found out who did that?
If I found out who did it, I would call the police right away.
Police find people in the community who vouch for Nick.
Nicholas was part of our congregation. He was very, very gentlemanlike. He was kind. He was willing to help. He would stay late sometimes and help us pick up after the church.
Police cross Nicholas Ortiz off the suspect list. Then, 2 days after the murder, they get an urgent call from Cherie Ortiz.
I called the police and I told them we found out about a safe that was well hidden, enough where my sister and I didn't even know it existed. At my parents' house, my Uncle Walter had called me and said, I built your dad a secret piece of furniture that would hide a safe in it.
The unit was so well concealed, the police had not found it when they searched the house days earlier.
I said, I do not want to know any more until we contact the police. So we had to have it opened up there at the police station.
Inside was $80,000 in cash, as well as some of the life insurance paperwork.
That's when we found that my dad had been saving money for years. He had his retirement saved in there.
Cherie says she didn't know about the money, but police make a discovery that puts her claim in doubt.
We had learned through district court that the power of attorney had been given to Cherie at this point, and she was basically going to be the heir of hundreds of thousands of dollars in life insurance policies that Lloyd and Dixie had. And that $80,000 that was in the safe was part of a cash out from those life insurance policies.
Cherie says she didn't know about the insurance policy. The inheritance was large enough to give Cherie and Jesse a powerful motive for murder. But motive alone wasn't enough to arrest either one of them.
We have no physical evidence that could tie Cherie and Jesse to the crime.
The discovery of the safe also causes police to speculate on how the Ortizes had amassed so much money. Could it have anything to do with the marijuana growing on the property?
Kind of raised some concern to us as to why he was growing it. Are they possibly selling this stuff?
Detectives investigate whether Lloyd was secretly involved in trafficking. The answer comes back clear.
Nothing was taken from this house. It didn't even appear that whoever was there at the time knew that there was pot plants being grown behind this fence. And knowing anything about the industry of marijuana, there were smaller plants, they weren't mature. We were able to pretty much rule out that the gangs were tied in to this.
It's another blow for the investigation. And as days turn to weeks, detectives are no closer to catching those responsible.
Essentially, you do run out of leads or you run into dead ends. As frustrating as it was for us as investigators, it had to have been exponentially worse for the family.
I was on the phone with the police every single day asking, what have they heard? Anything new? What can I do to help? And we were always told, nothing. There's nothing you can do.
I truly felt like they were not ever going to solve this case.
Then, 16 months after the murders, detectives get the break they've been praying for when they receive a call from the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department.
In October of 2012, I had just gotten home from work and I got a call that there's somebody there that wants to give some information to me in reference to the homicide. And she was in jail. She said she just wants to get something off her chest.
Detectives are hopeful a new tip will finally help solve the murders of Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz. The information comes from a young woman in the custody of Santa Fe police.
Ashley Ball was 24, and she has a history of burglaries and of drug use.
Ashley told officers that she knew something about the El Rancho murders. At that point, ears started to perk within law enforcement.
Before questioning Ashley, police look into her background.
Ashley grew up in El Rancho.
Ashley wasn't necessarily a troubled teen per se, but she got in trouble a lot.
From a young age was in and out of the detention center.
Lead detective Craig Bobnock questions Ashley about what she knows.
As I started explaining that it was a voluntary interview, she kept interrupting me saying, I know who did it, I know who did it.
Ashley claims that on the night of the murder, she was smoking weed with her cousin, Jose Roybal, and a mutual friend.
They needed money, so they were gonna go hit the Ortiz's house. And I took them, I dropped them off, and I went back home.
She told me that she owned a gray 1997 Saturn car, two-door car, during the time of the homicide. So I immediately thought of Jesse's statement.
Cherie Ortiz's husband, Jesse Rios, had told police he saw a gray car driving slowly past their house late on the night of the murder. But it's what Ashley says next that grabs detectives' attention.
I got a call about maybe half an hour, 45 minutes later.
The call was from Jose's friend, and he needed a ride.
He got in my car, he had blood on his pants, he had a trash bag tied around his right foot. That's when he told me that he killed Stephen, Dixie, and Lloyd. He said he threw the pickaxe by the fence. He kept saying he killed him, he messed up, he killed him.
Ashley told me that the single person that killed the Ortiz family was Nick Ortiz.
Ashley's revelation is explosive. This family took in Nick when he was having trouble at home.
He stayed there for upwards of a couple of months, in which he got very close with the family. He would eat there, he would get off the school bus there. It was basically his home, and they took him in.
But police need to be sure Ashley's telling the truth. After all, she has a rap sheet, and their suspect has an alibi.
The information that Ashley Roybal provided had to have come from somebody who was actually there during the incident.
Ashley explains another detail that puts her at the scene.
Do they wear gloves? Do they care about fingerprints usually?
He had a sock on his hand.
He did have a sock on his hand?
Mm-hmm.
Police are hopeful they can find evidence in Ashley's car, but it's nowhere to be found.
It's 18 months later. She had said she had sold it to a tow company. The vehicle ultimately ended up at the shredder. Couldn't find it.
Investigators had to find another way to verify her story.
I received a lot of the phone logs, and that was my big piece of evidence at this point.
Cell phone records show the communication between Nicholas, Ashley, and her cousin Jose peaked around the time of the murders, so investigators immediately bring Nick back in to confront him with the evidence.
So I brought Nick in. He's in 100% denial of everything until I bring up the phone records.
I'm just gonna show you, dude, these are your texts between you and Jose. You're the orange and he's the white. That's how much you guys texted on Saturday night into Sunday morning. Is it surprising?
Well, with all due respect to you guys and all that, I'd really like to just stop talking and go home now.
Okay.
I want another chance at another interview with him, so I didn't want to ruin it. So we ended the interview.
Investigators' next move is to haul in Jose for questioning. Since he's a minor, they get permission from his parents to speak to him.
He was 15 at the time. He drank a lot. He had problems at home. He didn't have a good reputation.
Police talk to Jose, and he opens up.
Ashley dropped me and Nick off so we could go rob the house. She left. Nick told me he would go in. He wanted me to go in with him to go kill. And I told him no. I didn't want to. I was scared. He started walking towards the house. When he started walking towards the house, I ran to the river. I got to my house. And then Ashley and Nick show up. Nick is white as a ghost. I knew he had did it. He told me he had did it. He told me he did it.
Jose's story matches Ashley's, and suddenly police have two witnesses against Nicholas.
On February 12th, 2015, I got the approval from the district attorney to get an arrest warrant for Nick Ortiz. District court judge signed it and said, go pick him up.
Just like before, Nicholas remains uncooperative.
So I brought him in a copy of the criminal complaint. There were 5 total charges on the criminal complaint that I gave him. He said, I don't agree with 2 of these charges on here. And there were only 2 charges that were different from murder. So it's an admission to me. I knew I had him at that point. It was him.
With Nicholas taken into custody, detectives finally have some news for the Ortiz family.
I absolutely was shocked when the police said he had done this. I didn't think I have ever known anybody in my life who could do something like that brutal. I've never met anybody that could hurt people so grossly. It didn't make sense because that was not at all his personality when he lived with us.
People were in disbelief. As a pastor, it was hard for me to even fathom the fact that a young man like this could do something so tragic, this gruesome.
On June 15th, 2015, Nicholas goes to trial for massacring the Ortiz family.
Nick was a minor at the time. Given the fact that this was a heinous triple homicide, the judge did agree with my office that Nicholas should be charged as an adult.
When the trial starts, the prosecution is confident of a conviction until an unexpected development jeopardizes the whole case.
So in the middle of trial, we received a big surprise in Jose changing his testimony completely.
Nicholas Ortiz alone stands accused of a savage triple murder. His 2 former friends are taking plea bargains to testify against him. But just as prosecutors think it's a cut and dry case, the unexpected happens.
So in the middle of trial, we received a big surprise in Jose changing his testimony completely, pointing at Ashley as the individual who instructed them to kill the family.
Originally, the plan was to rob the Ortiz family, but according to Jose, Ashley had something more sinister in mind.
Jose Roybal testified that Ashley said, "Why don't you just kill them?"
It's a stunning statement, which the defense denies.
The case agent said, well, she said she didn't say that. And then the lawyer said, yeah, but Jose Roybal says she did, so somebody must be lying. Jose testified that Ashley gave the 2 boys socks to cover up their hands and plastic bags with Kleenex in them to cover up their feet so that they wouldn't leave traces there. He also said that she is the one that handed Nick the weapon.
According to Jose, in the early hours of June 19th, 2011, Ashley tells Nicholas and Jose it's time to put her unthinkable plan into action.
Ashley takes Jose and Nick to the Ortiz house, drops them off.
Jose got scared. He left. He ran home. Nick went towards the house.
He knocks on the back door. Lloyd Ortiz gets up out of bed. When he opens it, he's attacked by Nicholas with the pickaxe.
He didn't stop there. He went into the house and struck Dixie twice in her temple on the right side of her head with a pickaxe.
Nicholas moved on to the kitchen, looking for the money, but he found Stephen instead.
Recognizing who is in his house, Stephen puts up a fight.
Nick delivers 17 blows to his head and body and kills him.
After Nick killed the 3 Ortizes, he didn't take anything. He got scared, so he just left. He walked out the door and called Ashley.
The revelations come as a shock to the victim's family.
Every day that we were at that trial, it was devastating because we learned things. I learned things that I didn't know. And I wish I hadn't, because it still haunts me.
Nick doesn't say a thing during the entire trial. It's Jose's word against Ashley's. How would their competing testimonies affect the jury?
The case was based almost entirely on Ashley and Jose's testimony, and that was a point of contention amongst people up until the sentencing.
After 3.5 days, I remember the jury went into the courtroom, and the foreperson said, no matter how much time you give us, we're just not going to come to a consensus. So the judge had no choice but to declare a mistrial.
It was horrible. It was devastating to me.
I felt like our hearts had been ripped out. We had all this hope.
Luckily, we have the opportunity to try him again, which we did.
17 months later, in December 2016, the case goes back to court.
Luckily, this time around, we proved to all 12 jurors that Nicholas Ortiz was the individual that killed those 3 people.
On October 28, 2019, Nicholas is sentenced to 25 years in prison. The victory rings hollow for the victim's loved ones.
What that felt like to me was each victim, my mom, my dad, and my brother, was only worth 8 years each. That's exactly what that is. It's a joke. That's not justice.
He's gonna do probably 12 to 15 years. No way. No way.
Ashley Roybal received a 20-year sentence. 6 years of that was suspended, so 14 years of incarceration.
Jose got full immunity for his testimony. He never got so much as probation.
Even though years have passed since the murders, their effects remain.
I would say I'm sorry to my parents and my brother. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help you. So I would say I love you and I miss you and I'm so sorry.
I want them to be remembered through their compassion, their love for children,